And I really believe that Tony Abbott cannot keep saying no to this issue for very much longer and hope to keep his credibility. And as we all know, he's got to struggle with that anyway. And I think too what's happening, as most of you would know, on the 6th of June the Greens are reintroducing the legislation again, and so it gives them the opportunity to have another vote before September. And again, I mean, Tony Abbott always uses the excuse that it's decided in the party room. They're going to have another meeting before the next rounds of Parliament, and it's a case of hands up who's in favour, and we know that the vast majority of coalition MPs and senators are in favour. And the point is with this anyway, even if the vote goes down, if he allows a conscience vote, at least it shows that he is in favour of democracy, not being a one-man band and having all the votes his own way. So I think it's really time that he did stand up, be the man that he thinks he is, and allow a conscience vote. It will also mean that come the next election, which is in September, which we're all dreading, that we can then move on with other issues that he seems to think are more important, but we don't. And I think that what it will do then is let him have a fresh start with some credibility, at least if he allows a conscience vote as soon as possible. But one thing too is don't just sit quietly. We've got a nice little group of people here today. You write to your MPs, you ring your MPs, and you tell them that you want this vote sooner rather than later, and you want a true conscience vote, not Tony Abbott having the whole 80-odd votes for himself his own way. Because we know that at in last August, when they did have the vote, it would have been much, much closer than it was, and it was still excellent considering the way that it was done. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, what do we want? Marriage equality. What do we want it? Now. How are we going to get it? Fight for it. What do we want? Marriage equality. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Marriage equality. What do we want? Now. What do we want? Marriage equality. What do we want? Now. Gay, straight, black, white. Marriage is a civil right. Gay, straight, black, white. Marriage is a civil right. Gay, straight, black, white. Marriage is a civil right. What do we want? Marriage equality. When do we want it? Now. Now. What do we want? Marriage equality. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Marriage equality. When do we want it? Now. New Zealand has it, so can we. Tony Abbott set us free. New Zealand has it, so can we. Tony Abbott set us free.
Now we have to do something to change this. Every person in this country is entitled to the same dignity, respect and equality in the law as every other Australian.
Gay, straight, black, white. Marriage is a civil right. Gay, straight, black, white. Marriage is a civil right. Gay, straight, black, white. Marriage is a civil right. Gay, straight, black, white. Marriage is a civil right. Gay, straight, black, white. Marriage is a civil right.
Get those bloody flags off. Get your bloody flags off our war memorial.
You've got to...
No, I'm not talking about...
Let's have a peace offering here.
Let's have a
Okay, you get off our flag and we'll take the flags down.
Righto.
Okay.
Oh, you bloody
and
should.
you have a great day.
Okay.
And what this man did when he went to World War II was fight for the freedom of every Australian, just like I did when I went to Vietnam. And that includes you people here. I'll encourage you to go out and get 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 people each for future rallies, because it's the feet on the ground that's going to change this. It's the feet on the ground, the emails and the letters to your local politician that will change this. And yet here we are with statistics of 64% of the people wanting same-sex couples to have equal rights, dignity and respect as every other Australian in the country. And what does he do? Tony Abbott shackles his own party and doesn't allow them the democratic right to vote. Ooh. Now that's anti-liberal, isn't it? It's anti-liberal. So what we need to do, I think if we had a conscience vote, this vote would go through. It's not the Liberal Party that's opposing same-sex marriage, it's Tony Abbott. And he's carrying on the legacy that John Howard, the man who broke the gay community's heart 8 years ago when he changed the legislation, Tony Abbott is the man in his shadow. Now we can do something about this. It's probably not a national level like the NDIS or Gonski or those things, but this is a very, very important issue, not only to the gay community but to their parents, their family and their colleagues, their work colleagues and friends. So let's do something about this. I asked Tony Abbott to unshackle the Liberal Party and let them practice their basic democratic right to vote on a very important issue, a very, very social reform. Thanks for your time.
What do we want? Marriage equality! What do we want it? Now! What do we want? Marriage equality! What do we want it? Now! What do we want? Marriage equality! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Marriage equality! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Marriage equality! When do we want it? Now!
We also need to recognise that with this legislation, if it passes, like the NDS and every other piece of legislation, that costs money. But this one doesn't. It doesn't cost the government a cent, but it will give everybody in this community, whether they be the parents of lesbians and gays or the couples themselves, it will give them all just so much more dignity and self-respect and lift the self-esteem of everybody that's involved. Thanks.